The cost of IT in business can be staggering. From hardware and software expenses to services like internet and phone, you don't need to spend a fortune on IT to succeed. If your organization spends more than $500 monthly on any service, or you're considering signing a long-term contract, IT Enabled can help you manage your technology and minimize your costs. Contact us today to schedule a free consultation. IT Enabled, we're here to help.
Hi, I'm Tara Watson-Watkins, President and CEO of the Lufkin, Angelina County Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the Connect podcast, connecting business to the community. I'm here today with my co-host, Blake Pollino with BP Media Group.
This week on the Chamber podcast, we have Kevin Terry, who is the Executive Director of the Joseph House, here to talk about this awesome organization that is so needed in our community and everything that they provide. So let's get into that episode now.
Well, we are thrilled to have Kevin Terry for the first time on our podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Kevin is with the Joseph House, which is a phenomenal place here in Lufkin. Just so our listeners can get to know you a little bit more, why don't you give a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk about the Joseph House.
Okay. I am a nurse. I have been working in hospice for about 10 years now. Before that, I did a little bit of pediatric care. And before that, I just did hospital. Hospice is my passion.
Yeah.
I cannot see myself doing anything else.
And it has to be a passion.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It has to be. There was one time that I tried to get out. I lost my own mom about 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. God said, no, you're not going. I put you here for a reason, and here we are.
Awesome. So how did you come to be at the Joseph House?
Golly, I wasn't looking for a job whenever I was approached with the executive director position at the Joseph House. It kind of just fell in my lap.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
I agreed to sit down and talk, and I said, okay, we'll do this. That evening, I had accepted a position, and 2 weeks later, I started.
Nice.
Very cool.
And how long have you been there at this point?
November will be 3 years.
That's hard to believe.
Wow.
That's great. So for those that are not familiar with the Joseph House, why don't you let our listeners know about that?
So the Joseph House is not a traditional nursing facility. So many people say or hear the word nursing and home together, and they're terrified.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like a nursing facility. It doesn't feel like a nursing facility. It's honestly just a great big house. Within the great big house, there are 7 individual apartments. Those apartments have a living area, a bedroom area, and a private bathroom area. Those are for our residents. Mm-hmm. We have the big kitchen, commercial kitchen, and then we have a big living area that all of our residents get to enjoy.
Awesome. Very, very, very cool. So what makes it different? Like, you talk about it being not just a normal place. What is it that really makes it different?
We get to hold hands. Mm-hmm. We get to love. We get to love on our residents just as much as we get to love on our families just as much as we get to love on our residents. Mm-hmm. Anytime that I'm doing a consult with any family, I ask them to please bring in pictures, bring in pillows, bring in quilts that they've made, bring in artwork that when we roll them through the door of their new apartment, I want them to say,
I'm home.
This is home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is my home. One of the first things that I say to any of my residents that come through my front door is welcome home. Mm-hmm. Because I want them to have the absolute best experience. I don't want them to feel like they are in a facility or an institution. I want them to feel at home.
That's awesome.
Another way it's different is we're technically considered a specialized care facility through Texas Health and Human Services. Mm-hmm. We are one of 10 in the entire state of Texas.
Okay.
So Lufkin really has a hidden gem.
Sure. And how long has the Joseph House actually been here?
We accepted our first resident on May 12th of 2013.
13. Okay.
So we are coming up. May will be our 10-year. Mm-hmm. Our 10-year anniversary.
Interesting. So having done this for the amount of time that you have, do you have any interesting insights from from seeing people during this stage of life. So as people get closer to end of life or whatever that scenario is, it's an interesting place to be, right? You know, not a lot of people get to experience that constantly. Any interesting insights that you've gleaned from?
If I could tell anybody anything, I would tell them that death doesn't have to be scary.
Interesting.
I know that none of us like to talk about death.
Right.
None of us like to make plans. None of us like to even think about the end of our own lives, or the end of somebody else's life that we care about. But it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to leave somebody in turmoil. It doesn't have to be completely stressful. What I like to do at the Joseph House is, and I hate to use the word burden because I don't think it's ever a burden for us to take care of somebody that we love. But I like to take away all the task that the daughter, the sister, the brother, the son has to do for that loved one. I want to do that resident's laundry. I want to cook their meals. I want to clean their apartments. That way, our families can come in and just hold hands. They can come in and just be a family member. They don't have to work a 9-to-5 job and get home and say, my goodness, what am I going to cook? He can't eat what the rest of us eat. And I have to give him medicines. I have to do this. I have to do that. Oh, I have to change his bed. I don't really know how to do that. So I want to take as much off of them as possible.
Interesting.
So how does, for those, because I'm familiar with the Joseph House some, but do you allow other hospices to come in? Do you allow other home health to come in? How does that work for somebody who might be needing you?
So the Joseph House is not a hospice, and we are not, we don't compete with any hospices local. We actually have contracts with all of our local hospices. I can't say enough good things about each of our hospices. Each one of them, we work well with them. We accept any of their patients. If their patients need a spot at the Joseph House, we say, hey, bring them home and we'll get the rest figured out later. But yes, we work with all of them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I knew that so many people probably weren't familiar with how that all works.
Right. A lot of people think that the Joseph House is a hospice.
Right.
And that's one of the things I'm working on is trying to clear up is we are not a hospice. We are a facility for a hospice resident.
Nice.
And that resident gets to be on any hospice that they choose. Any hospice that covers our area.
That's great.
They get to choose the hospice that they.
So are these home hospice providers that are then, instead of going to the home, they're coming to the Joseph House? That's essentially how it works?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So this is just a residency, right?
This
so it's
is
a place.
just a big house.
Gotcha.
A big house full of love, full of compassion. I have a really, really great staff. Honestly, most of them have been there longer than I have. We are staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
That's great.
We're doing everything for a resident that you can think of.
That's great.
We are giving their meds. We're helping get them comfortable. There are some residents that just want to go out and sit on the back patio.
Yeah, especially right now.
Especially right now.
Yeah. So everybody that works here as a nurse is capable of checking vitals, of giving medication, all of that.
Correct. Technically, I'm the only nurse at the facility, but all of our staff is trained in hospice, palliative, end of life care.
That's great.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's great. And about what is your average to have a patient? How long do you typically have patients?
I would say our average would be 3 to 6 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, okay. That's a lot longer than I expected.
Yeah. Now I never know. There are some days that we get one and we only have a few days to love on them.
Sure.
Before they make their transition. But I would say our average length of stay is 3 to 6 months.
Interesting.
That's great.
That's good.
Well, it's the way it should be. It just means that people are using hospice correctly.
Right. And hospice is a great tool. Another stigma that I would love to clear up is people think that hospice is a death sentence.
Yes, they do.
People think that when doctors or nurses or anybody walks in and says, okay, we need to talk about hospice, people think that just means they're going home to die. That's not true. Hospice is a great tool to have in your tool belt for somebody at this stage of life. Hospice doesn't necessarily mean that you have days or hours or even weeks to live. A person can live months on hospice. It's a great tool.
It just takes so much pressure off the family.
It does.
It's a great resource for the family.
It's an extra set of eyes. It's an extra set of ears. It is, it's 2:00 in the morning, you're at home and something comes up. Instead of loading somebody up and going to the ER, you're able to call your hospice and say, hey, this is what's going on. Can you come help me? And they're right there.
Yeah.
They're right there.
That's great.
Same thing at the Joseph House. It's 2:00 in the morning. We have a new issue come up with one of our residents. All we have to do is pick up the phone and say, hey, this is what's going on. Can you come help us? And they are there.
That's great.
Interesting.
So how are you funded?
We are funded by donations,
Okay.
by grants. Our residents do pay a small fee to live at the Joseph House, a monthly fee. We are not affiliated with Medicare, Medicaid, private insurances. We don't receive any of that funding.
Okay.
We have a great community that supports the Joseph House.
Yeah.
Even though there are so many that still have no idea what the Joseph House is. We have a great community. We also have a thrift store on Chestnut.
You just expanded the thrift store.
We did. We just expanded it. Actually, they opened up today.
Oh, good.
So if you guys haven't stopped by to check out all the new things happening, definitely stop by. The thrift store helps out tremendously with us getting our funding.
And can people donate to your thrift store?
They can.
Okay.
They can donate. There should be a new donation area that you can pull up under the porte-cochere. Our staff will come out and we will get those donations out of the car for you.
Great.
Awesome.
I will make a load this week.
I have a load that I need to take myself.
So do we.
They've been closed in January and February, and I'm like, man, I really need to get rid of this stuff. But so, like I said, they opened up today.
That's great.
That's actually my next stop. Is I'm going to go and see all the expansion and see what they've done over there.
Very cool.
Nice.
Well, awesome. Well, is there anything else that the community needs to know about the Joseph House, about our listeners that they may not know already?
I would love to invite the community to just come and see the Joseph House.
Okay, great.
Just come and see it. Call me. Even if you don't have anybody that you think may need us or may need the Joseph House, call me. I would be happy to show you around. That way people can get a feel of what the Joseph House is, actually see it. Almost everybody that drives up our driveway says, I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting to pull up and it just be a big house. And they say, I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And where are you located?
we are at 5783 Farm Road 841.
Okay.
So we are exactly 2 miles from Love's on the Loop.
Okay.
2 miles on the left.
Gotcha.
You can't see the Joseph House from the road, but at the end of the road, we have a big sign that says the Joseph House. If you just follow that driveway, we're right back there.
Very cool. And how can people support the Joseph House? How can our listeners help and support? Aside from taking donations to the thrift shop, which you should definitely do.
Definitely take donations to the thrift shop. The community supports us by just making private donations to the Joseph House.
Okay.
Memorial donations to the Joseph House in memory of someone that they love that has passed. Also in-kind donations. I can't tell you how many paper towels we go through or, just cleaning supplies, bleach, anything like that. And sometimes it's just having a volunteer come out and spend time with our residents.
Very cool.
Coming out to paint fingernails or listen to stories, which is one of my favorite parts. So,
Well, this is a great fit for you, Kevin.
Thank you.
I have seen you in multiple areas, and this is you're such a people person.
Well, thank
So
you.
this is a great fit for you. Joseph House is very honored to have you.
It is truly,
You're lucky.
and I mean it. It is truly my passion.
Yeah.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I believe it. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate
you.
having you on the show. And
Absolutely.
please make sure you go check out the Joseph House and support this organization any way you can. We appreciate you listening to the podcast again this week. Thank you so much for your support, and we will see you next week.